I'm going to tell you about a place I will never go back to. Not because I can't, not because I'm afraid, but because the place doesn't want me to come back. And I know this with the same certainty I know my own name. Beaver Dunes, Oklahoma. The Shaman's Portal. If you Google that name, you'll find articles about urban legends, skeptical breakdowns, a couple of podcasts, and photos of ordinary sand dunes. Looks harmless. Sand, sky, wind. The tourist spot. ATVs on weekends. But that's during the day. At night, they don't let you in. And there are reasons for that. Reasons you won't find on the tourism website. A quick bit of context, because it matters. Beaver Dunes, 600 acres of sandhills in northwestern Oklahoma, in a zone they used to call no man's land, up until the end of the 19th century. Indigenous peoples called the dunes the Shaman's Portal, and forbade anyone from entering, especially at night. They said there was an ancient burial ground beneath the sand, that the spirits wouldn't let the living pass. In 1541, the conquistador Coronado ignored the warnings of his guides and sent 3 soldiers to scout the center of the dunes. They never came back. Coronado wrote in his journal that before their disappearance, he saw a green flash. 4 words. This is the devil's work. Since then, several more people have failed to return from the dunes. 1897. A pioneer woman. They found the wagon, the horse standing in place, the woman gone. 1987. A tourist from Colorado. Tent pitched, car in the lot. The man gone. Search turned up nothing. After the 87 incident, nighttime access to the central part of the dunes was restricted. Officially, for safety reasons. Unofficially, none of the rangers could explain what happened, and no one wanted to be responsible for the next disappearance. Now the park is technically open during the day, but at night the central zone is cordoned off with tape and signs. No cameras, no guards, just signs. Entry prohibited after sunset. That's enough to keep regular tourists away. But we weren't regular tourists. October 2021. There were 4 of us. Me, my friend Connor, his girlfriend April, and Tyler. Connor found him on Reddit, on a subreddit dedicated to unexplained places. Tyler had already been to the dunes twice during the day and claimed he knew a trail that bypassed the signs. We pulled up to the park around 10 p.m., left the car on a dirt road half a kilometer from the entrance to avoid the parking lot camera. Went on foot. Kept the flashlights off until we cleared the camping zone. A few trailers were parked there, and we didn't need witnesses. Moonless night. October in Oklahoma. Not cold yet, but the wind off the plains cuts right through you. We walked through the sand, and I remember the first thing that struck me as strange. The silence. I grew up in the suburbs. I was used to background noise. Cars, air conditioners, dogs, planes. Here, there was nothing. Absolutely nothing. Even the wind blowing didn't make a sound, because there was nothing for it to rustle against. No trees, no bushes, no grass. Just sand. And when wind blows across sand, it doesn't rustle. It hisses. Quietly, monotonously, like white noise. or like breathing. We passed the signs. Tyler led confidently. He knew the way. The sand underfoot kept changing. First packed and solid, then increasingly loose and deep. Our feet sank to the ankles. Walking was hard, as if the dunes didn't want us pushing deeper. Every step took effort. 20 minutes later, we were in the central zone. Around us, nothing. No lights on the horizon, no building silhouettes, no glow from the road. As if the rest of the world had ceased to exist. Just sand, stars, and us. I switched on my flashlight. The beam hit the sand and vanished. No reflections, no landmarks, just sand in every direction and a black sky overhead. Turn off the flashlight, and you're in a void. No up, no down. Only the wind tells you you're still on the ground. And that's when I felt the first thing I couldn't explain. It was like pressure. Not physical, not on my skin, not on my ears, on something inside. As though the air around us had gotten slightly heavier. As though the space we had entered didn't want us here. Not aggressively, more like the feeling you get when you walk into someone's house uninvited. You haven't broken anything, but you feel that you don't belong. I looked at the others. Connor was walking normally. April, the same. Tyler, up ahead, confident as always. Maybe it was just me. Maybe I was just nervous. We were breaking the rules after all. It was night. The place had a reputation. I told myself it was nerves and kept walking. 5 minutes later, the feeling intensified. Not sharply, gradually, as if we were entering a zone where it was stronger. I noticed I was slowing down, not because I was tired, because my body was resisting, as though moving forward was slightly harder than moving backward, as though the space had a direction, and that direction was go back. April stopped and said she felt off. Not in pain, just off. Like something was pressing on her temples. Connor asked if she wanted to turn around. She shook her head. We kept going. 10 minutes later, Tyler stopped. He was standing there, staring down at the sand. I walked over and shone the flashlight. The sand in that spot was a different color. Not dramatically, just slightly darker, as if it were damp, even though it hadn't rained in a week. And it formed a circle. Not perfect, but close, about 5 meters across. A clear boundary, light sand here, darker sand there. Tyler crouched down and touched it with his hand, then looked up at me. His face had changed. Tyler. This was a guy who'd driven out to the dunes twice just for the thrill. He didn't scare easy. But his hand, the one that touched the sand, was shaking. The sand was warm. Not just not cold. Warm. As if there were a heater running underneath. At night. In October. 7 hours after sunset. We all touched it. All 4 of us confirmed. The sand inside the circle was 10 to 15 degrees warmer than the sand around it. The boundary was sharp. Step left, cold. Step right, warm. Connor pulled out his phone to film it, opened the camera. Black screen. Switched to the front camera. It worked. Back to the main one. Black. He restarted the phone. Same thing. The front camera filmed fine. The main camera wouldn't. As though something was blocking it, or as though it was refusing to capture what it was pointed at. April tried her phone. The camera worked, but the image was full of artifacts. Horizontal lines, flickering, color distortion, as if there were a powerful source of interference nearby. On the screen, the sand looked like a mosaic of broken pixels. Tyler didn't take out his phone. He stood in the center of the warm circle, staring at a single point. Southwest. Into the darkness. I asked him what he saw. He didn't answer. I asked louder. He turned to me. The expression on his face was one I'd never seen in all the time I'd known him. Not fear, attention, as though he were listening to something that the rest of us couldn't hear. Then April said she wanted to leave. Not because she was scared. She couldn't put into words why. She just wanted to go. Right now. I agreed with her. I didn't know what I didn't like. The warm sand, the broken cameras, the look on Tyler's face. But all of it together added up to a feeling that made you want to turn around and walk away fast. Connor nodded. We turned. Tyler didn't move. He stood in the center of the circle, staring into the darkness. We called his name. No reaction. Connor walked over and touched his shoulder. Tyler flinched as if waking up, looked at us, blinked a few times, and said one sentence that still gives me chills to this day. He said, "Can't you feel it? The ground is humming." I stepped onto the spot where he'd been standing, the center of the warm circle. I went still, listened. He was right. The ground was humming, not like a machine, deeper, lower, as if something far beneath the sand was vibrating. I didn't feel it with my ears. I felt it through my soles, through my bones, through my teeth. A monotone, steady vibration, as though someone had struck a low note on a pipe organ and was holding it. Forever. I stood there for 5 seconds. Then the vibrations surged, not gradually, in a jolt, as if something switched to the next level, and at the same time, a sensation. Not a sound, not a movement, a presence. As if someone were standing 1 meter from you in total darkness and watching. You can't see, can't hear, can't touch, but you know. Every cell in your body knows. And the body starts reacting. The hair on your arms stands up, muscles tense, pulse quickens. An ancient primal mechanism that says, you are not alone. I turned off the flashlight. Why? I don't know. Instinct, as if I wanted to see what I was feeling. Darkness, stars, sand, nothing. Absolutely nothing. But the sense of presence, stronger than anything I'd ever felt in my life. As if the darkness around me wasn't empty. As if it was made of something. I turned the flashlight back on. My hands were shaking. I stepped off the circle. The vibration vanished. The sensation, gone. 1 step back onto ordinary sand. And nothing. Silence. An ordinary night. Ordinary cold sand. As if the circle were a boundary. And everything inside was another world. And everything outside was ours. And between them, a single step. We headed back, fast. Not running, but fast. Tyler walked last. He kept turning around. And halfway to the camping zone, light. I didn't understand what was happening at first. It just got slightly brighter, as if someone behind us had switched on a dim floodlight. I turned around at the same moment as the others. Behind us, toward the dunes, at the exact point where we'd been standing 10 minutes earlier, a glow. Greenish blue. Steady, no flickering, no wavering. As if someone had placed a lamp in the middle of the desert. It was dim, but in the absolute darkness of the dunes, unmistakable. It painted the sand around it a sickly green. For about 30 meters. I remember thinking, we were standing there 10 minutes ago. If we'd stayed, we would have been standing right in that light. We stood and watched. Nobody moved. April grabbed Connor's hand. I could hear her breathing, fast, shallow. The glow lasted about 20 seconds. Then it went out. Not gradually, instantly. A click and darkness. And the darkness after the glow was thicker than before. My eyes had adjusted to the light, and now, nothing. Blackness. In that blackness, I heard the vibration return. Beneath my feet, distant, faint but unmistakable. It was coming from the spot where the light had just been. As if the glow was on the surface, but its source was deep below. And it hadn't switched off. It had simply stopped being visible. And in the second, the light went out. Tyler took a step toward the dunes. Back. Connor grabbed his arm. Tyler looked at him. His eyes, I saw them in the flashlight beam, were dilated. Pupils enormous, nearly covering the entire iris. Like someone on drugs. Except Tyler was sober. He looked down at his hand, the one Connor was holding. Then at us. Then back at the dunes, into the darkness where the glow had been, and said, "I need to go back." Not, "I want to." Not, "Let's go check it out." "I need to." With the intonation of someone saying, "I need to breathe." Necessity, not desire. Connor didn't let go of his arm. We walked Tyler to the car. The whole way he was silent and kept turning back toward the dunes. We drove away, in silence. 40 minutes to the motel. Nobody said a word. I kept watching the side mirror. The road behind us was empty. Darkness. Not a single light. But twice I thought I saw far behind us on the horizon above the dunes, a faint greenish glow, barely visible for a second. I didn't tell the others. Maybe it was stars low on the horizon. Maybe a reflection of headlights from a distant road. Or maybe not. At the motel, Tyler went straight to bed. Or pretended to. Connor and April locked themselves in their room. I lay down but couldn't sleep. I lay in the dark and felt, or thought I felt, a faint vibration in the mattress, in the floor, like an echo, a remnant of what had been in the dunes. At 3 a.m., Connor woke me up. Tyler was gone from his room. The door was open. Tyler's car, he'd driven separately, was in the lot, keys on the nightstand in his room, phone on the charger. We found him 5 kilometers from the motel, on the shoulder of the road leading to the park, walking, barefoot, in a t-shirt and boxers, along the highway shoulder at 3 in the morning heading toward the dunes. 5 kilometers, barefoot, on asphalt and gravel. When we later checked his feet, not a single scratch. Not one. As if he hadn't walked the road, but floated above it. Or as if the road didn't want to stop him. When we pulled up, and Connor called his name, he turned around. His face was calm, relaxed, like someone out for a morning stroll. He didn't look sleepy. He didn't look scared. He looked like a person who knows exactly where he's going, and doesn't understand why anyone would stop him. He got in the car without resistance, didn't ask questions, didn't explain why he'd left. All he said was, "I don't remember getting up. I remember lying down to sleep, and then I'm on the road, like someone switched me off and back on." In the morning, we left Oklahoma. Tyler followed behind us. 3 years have passed. Here's what happened since. Tyler went back to Beaver Dunes. Alone. 4 months after our trip. He told me about it after the fact. Said he couldn't stop thinking about the dunes. Every night. Every single night. He'd wake up at 3 a.m. and lie there with his eyes open, thinking about the warm sand. He said it wasn't an obsessive thought in the clinical sense. He wasn't anxious. He was homesick, as if he'd left something important in the dunes and couldn't remember what. He drove out there, walked to the center, found the warm circle, stood in it for 20 minutes, then came back. Said it got easier after that. The longing went away. He finally slept through the night. He described it to me in a text. His exact words: "When you stand in the circle, everything falls into place. The vibration goes through you, and you feel whole, as if part of you was always here under the sand, and now you've reconnected." I reread that message 20 times. Part of you was always here. He wrote it without irony, without metaphor, as a fact. 2 months later, he went again. Then again, and again. Every time alone. Every time at night. Every time to the warm circle. The gaps between trips kept shrinking. First time, 4 months. Second, 2 months. Third, 3 weeks. Like addiction. As if what he felt in the circle didn't just pull him back, but drained something from him when he was away. And he had to go back to fill the void. The last time I spoke to Tyler was August 2022. He said he was moving to Beaver, the little town next to the dunes, population 1,500. I asked why. He said, "I want to be closer." I asked, "Closer to what?" He went quiet, then said, "I don't know, but it knows." Tyler hasn't answered a message since September 2022. His social media accounts haven't been deleted, but the last activity, August. I've written him 12 times. Not a single reply. I don't know where Tyler is. I don't know what happened to him. I only know one thing. The last information I had, he was living half a kilometer from a place where people have been disappearing. For 500 years. I won't go back to Beaver Dunes. But here's what I can't explain. And it scares me more than everything else. Sometimes, in the middle of the night, I wake up. No reason, no sound. I just open my eyes. The clock reads 3 a.m., give or take a few minutes. Always 3. And in those moments, lying in the dark, I feel a vibration beneath me. Barely there, like a distant echo of what I felt in the dunes. I know it's impossible. I live 1,000 kilometers from Oklahoma. I know it's my brain, my nerves, a memory that refuses to fade. But the vibration feels real, and every time, it's a little stronger than the last, a little clearer, a little closer. And every time I think about Tyler, about how he said, I need to go back. Not want, need. And I'm starting to understand what he meant. Because that feeling, the need to return, it's growing. Slowly, but growing. As if whatever lives beneath the dunes hooked something inside me that night when I stood in the warm circle. And now it's pulling. Quietly. Patiently. Knowing that sooner or later, I'll come. I won't go back to Beaver Dunes. I repeat it every morning. I say it out loud, looking in the mirror, like an affirmation. I won't go back. I won't go back. But every night, at 3 a.m., I wake up and know which direction the dunes are in. Not because I remember the map, but because I feel it, like a compass needle that always points north. Except my needle points southwest, toward Oklahoma, toward sand that covers every footprint, every night, toward sand that waits.